I'm Tiffany, and this is Towering TBR. Today I'm starting a new series on my channel called Top 5. I'm going to talk about a specific category and the 5 books I would recommend if you're interested in reading about this category. I am chronically ill and disabled, and that is why I've decided to make my first episode my favorite disability memoirs, focusing on more physical disability rather than mental illness. So at number 5, I'm going to recommend When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. This is quite different than the rest of the ones I'm going to recommend, but it is his story of training to become a doctor, and right as he was about to finish his residency, he finds out he has stage 4 terminal lung cancer. And he writes about what his grief about putting in all this work as a doctor and then have it taken right out from underneath him. And he talks about what it's like to talk about mortality with a patient as a doctor and how it's very different when he becomes the patient. This book will make you cry. It is definitely very sad. I don't think you're gonna be surprised by the ending, but it was an eye-opening memoir, and I gave it 5 stars. I've given all of the books I'm going to talk about 5 stars and would highly recommend it. At number 4, I am recommending Notes from a Sickbed by Tessa Brunton. Tessa has chronic fatigue syndrome, and this is her graphic memoir detailing what her life is like with chronic fatigue. I think a lot of able-bodied persons can think they know what fatigue feels like because everybody gets tired. Everybody has, really been worn out and feels like they understand that process. However, we see how extreme her chronic fatigue is, and there's even a line in here that I really like about her wanting to apply to be a ghost because she doesn't feel like she's living. She's just merely surviving. And while I do feel like this book is a little bit incomplete, it took her a long time to have all the energy to write this book. And I think that its message is really clear and hopefully will give people more an understanding of what it is like to have chronic fatigue. If I've spoken about any of these books before, like I have about this one, I will link them in the description below and you can get more information if you're interested. At number 3, I put A Puff of Smoke by Sarah Lippett. This is also a graphic memoir focusing on her time with migraines, which is something that I suffer from as well. And it was incredibly relatable, talking about all of the times she missed out on fun experiences with other people because she was in pain. I think if you want a good look at what chronic pain and isolation does, this is an excellent memoir, and I would highly recommend it. At number 2, I'm going to recommend The Invisible Kingdom by Megan O'Rourke. This is part memoir, part disability studies focused on her chronic Lyme syndrome. She talks a lot about how desperate it can feel as a sick person and what it's like to cling on to hope that just the next thing right around the corner is what's going to allow you to live your life more fully. It's incredibly well written, and I am going to be buying a copy for myself because it is so great and there was so much to underline and annotate, and I think that this is a really good look if you want some nonfiction about disability. And at my number 1 spot, I am putting Sitting Pretty by Rebecca Tausig. I finished this quite recently, but it has quickly rocketed up to one of my favorites I've read this year. Sitting Pretty is her memoir focused on her life in a wheelchair and her disability activism. If you want more thoughts, I would recommend checking my May wrap-up or my Spoonie readathon. I'll link both in the description below and in the cards above. But this was such an interesting look at the different ways the disability is portrayed in our society. And there's even a chapter at the very end talking about COVID and all of the accommodations that suddenly became available, and also suddenly the ableist views that were fully realized with the pandemic. It's an amazing book, and I highly recommend it for people who are disabled and for non disabled people as well. All right, that was all of the 5 I'm going to recommend. Like I said, if there are any more videos that have more information about the books, I will link them. Let me know what your favorite disability memoir is down in the comments below. Thanks for joining. Bye.